The nature of the material is that you can work fluidly between additive and subtractive. That way you can take risks with things, repair things. If you're not happy with something, the way it's looking, it can be removed. And then there's also the refinement that can happen along the way. That's the other important part, is that you can hone down a form. Ceramics has got a very technical side to it as well, in terms of, we work with the clay wet, it has to dry, then we have to fire it a first time. That has its own set of technical issues. And then we go to the glazing phase, which will apply glaze to it and then fire it again. And that doesn't mean we're only going to just fire it once. There may be multiple firings that we engage in. Well, I think those two pieces in particular are at least 2 years old, I believe. And at the time I was kind of combining mines or explosive devices with rabbit forms. So I was thinking about ears and the way a rabbit's ears stand up, but also the way legs are articulated, the way they fan out. And I was kind of bringing those two things together. And that's, in terms of the conceptual nature of my work, I come from an industrial city in Detroit, Michigan, so I'm used to seeing pipes, factories, steel, things that are falling apart. But that's this kind of thing that informed me. And I was really fascinated with these beautiful devices that have a serious consequence. So to me, that's a balance, a weird balance between a positive and a negative. So I tried to bring that together and then incorporating it into something that had more of a human characteristic. Well, I was a photographer originally. I may have been 6 years old when I got my first camera. My dad worked in graphic design as a profession, so I was around photography from the work that he did. It wasn't until I went to college that I actually worked with clay. I think I've always been a hands-on person, and I think working with clay as a material, there's something stimulating about using your hands, and you're actually able to form something with it. I'm searching out imagery and information, and sometimes that'll come from what I've been reading as well. So I will compile imagery, and then oftentimes that'll dovetail into working in my sketchbook. So I'm drawing, and drawing has a number of effects on my work. There's preliminary drawing that will get me started. And generally those drawings I will sit down and then begin to make based off of that drawing. So when I do sit down with a slab of clay, I'm recreating something that I've drawn. Probably the most integral tool when you work with clay is what we call a pin tool or a needle tool. And it used to be you would just have a single needle on a metal post, and that's what you would use to score the clay. So when we're joining things together, two pieces of clay, the pin tool comes in handy. Probably one of the key things that I've been using over the years, especially for refining things, is a rasp. And this is generally used for wood or styrofoam. You can get it at the hardware store. Usually has a plastic handle on it. But I use it in my hand to remove clay and to clean the surface. And the other tools that come into play with that kind of refinement thing are the ribs. They make them in metal, wood, and these kinds of plastics now. And some of them are very flexible. So I rely on these a lot for the refinement of the form as I'm hand building. You see what you believe you can accomplish, But the reality of doing it to the level you want to takes longer. And the fact that you have to be patient and remind yourself that this exhibition or this body of work is not defining me forever, that it's a stepping stone. You got to be hard on yourself, but you also have to allow that it's going to take more time, and that you should reward yourself, at those goals, but don't think because you failed that it's ruined you, or that you don't have what it takes to make it. So, you have to trust yourself, and you got to be not afraid to fail. That's the other thing. That's a big thing.